side, I see the born, of no return. Sister, hey now, can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Now see the point of no return. It's just
Well, good evening. It's Monday again. Hey, how about that? Seems it happens once a week. And this Monday, it's June 9th, 2014. You're listening to Wide Awake News on the Rents Radio Network. My name is Gary Hendershot. And for the next hour or so, once again, I will be barking at the moon as if anybody out there was really listening. Well, I hope everybody had a nice weekend. Weather here on the East Coast was very pleasant. We enjoyed a nice cookout with family. It was a very laid-back, very, very pleasant weekend. I hope it was nice where you are. Hope you enjoyed a little time away from the grind. Hope you managed to kick back and relax a little bit before having to re-enter that thing called the work week, starting today. I'll tell you, though, a lot went on in the news last week. Let's get right into it. Ukraine. Yeah, it's kind of like that boil on your butt that just will not go away. You know, you really wish you could be done with it, have it over with. Because you just, you don't want it festering, getting all infected and nasty, But, latest reports, and this one's out of RIA, a Russian publication. So, remember the slant. This comes out of a Russian publication. But they're reporting that 7,300, more than 7,300 Ukrainian citizens have fled to neighboring Russia's Rostov region just since Sunday. A total of 7,335 Ukrainian citizens have entered Rostov region in the past day. 4,272 have left the region. Some 326 Ukrainian citizens have been accommodated, including 164 children. I have no idea what accommodated means. I guess that means they've been put up somewhere, Some 15 Rostov municipal districts. Now, this is Rostov in Russia. Some 15 Rostov municipal districts just east of Donetsk and Luhansk regions have maintained a state emergency. 9 injured Ukrainians have received aid since June 3rd. Kiev's interim government launched a special operation in mid-April against independence supporters in the southeast of Ukraine. The operation has already had numerous victims, including civilians, with no tangible gains for the Kiev leadership. Moscow has repeatedly called this operation punitive. Basically, the eastern portion of Ukraine seeks to disassociate itself with the U.S.-UK installed coup that took over in Kiev. Moscow considers the assaults on southeast Ukraine to be punitive for eastern Ukraine's expressions of a desire to separate from western Ukraine. Newly elected Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, I hope I said that right, called for a ceasefire Sunday during the first trilateral meeting of the Working Group for a Peaceful Resolution of the Crisis in the country's east. However, the military operation continues with reports from the besieged cities about new attacks. Yeah. Ain't that precious? And another report, this one out of Press TV. Now, Press TV is an Iranian publication that tends to lean towards Russians' side on most issues. So again, you have to kind of consider the source of these reports. But Press TV's report goes kind of like this: Ukraine's acting Interior Minister Arsen Avakov has announced plans to deploy all the department's forces in combat and patrol units to eastern Ukraine for participation in the ongoing military operations against pro-Russia protesters. Okay, now you read between the lines on this. I've been asking for some time, at what point might we consider what's going on in Ukraine to be an all-out civil war? Now, usually in a civil war, you got two sides that are kind of equally matched, and nobody has a clear advantage. But in this one here, the government forces in Kiev basically got all the airplanes, all the helicopters. They got an awful lot of boots they can put on the ground, while the folks in eastern Ukraine basically have, protest signs, and they got some shotguns. And don't get me wrong, they got some fairly well armed fellows on the ground. But when it comes to any sort of heavy weapons, any sort of anti-aircraft or anti-tank weapons, or perhaps being able to deploy their own tanks or their own aircraft in a fight like this, they really don't have the wherewithal to field that sort of thing. I think the folks in eastern Ukraine are kind of hoping that they will either get sympathy from folks in Europe and the United States for their plight, or perhaps some military assistance from Russia, without which they don't stand a chance in an all-out conflagration. I mean, let's face it, if the folks in Kiev decide that they want to just go in there and kick eastern Ukraine's ass, they've got the wherewithal to do it. The folks in eastern Ukraine, who to a large degree are ethnically Russians, speak Russian dialects, kind of identify with Russia, would prefer not to be aligned with the folks in the West who are mostly Eurocentric. These people are German and Polish, and they see a certain attraction to hooking up with the European Union. That's what they've got in mind for Ukraine. So you've basically got a pretty clear-cut divide between the interests of the Western Ukrainians and the Eastern Ukrainians. I wish I could tell you how this thing's going to come down. I keep listening to the so-called experts on it. A lot of people are rooting for the Russians to come to Eastern Ukraine's aid and give them all kinds of weapons, maybe even put boots on the ground. And I look at it, holy cow, that's just going to escalate things even more. It's a shame. It's a real shame. One thing I most certainly hope does not happen. I mean, it's bad enough that my government is in there stirring the pot, financing and encouraging and whispering in the ears and paying off government officials in Kiev. It's bad enough my government is involved with that. I sure as hell hope I don't see U.S. military put on the ground there, because I'll tell you, in that particular fracas, it's very difficult for the objective observer, the guy with no dog in the race. It's very difficult to see a good guy or a bad guy. I mean, frankly, I would just as soon leave the disposition of Ukraine to the Ukrainians. U.S. government, please stay out of foreign entanglements. It's none of your business. Today's June 8th. I'm sorry, June 9th. June 8th of 1967 marked kind of a dark passage in America's relation with its stalwart ally in the Middle East, a little apartheid nation, most referred to nowadays as Israel, what used to be referred to as Palestine. On June 8th of 1967, Israeli leaders learned they could deliberately attack a U.S. Navy ship and try to send it, together with its entire crew, to the bottom of the Mediterranean. This incident was known as the USS Liberty incident. Now, to set the backdrop, there was a little fracas going on between Israel and Egypt. And although Israel was pretty much assured of victory based on their, armaments, I mean, they were much better armed than the Egyptian military. They had some of the best French fighters going. They had a lot of U.S. equipment, and they were being supported by the United States. But, Israel's never been one much to, put their own boys on the line if they can get, a proxy to go in and do their fighting for them. That's historically been their way of doing things. And, gee, wouldn't it be nice for Israel if they could get those dumb Americans involved in this thing and get them to go fight the war for them? That'd be sweet, wouldn't it? Be good for Israel anyway. Well, apparently with some help from then-President Lyndon Baines Johnson, a cover story was arranged that the Israelis had mistaken the USS Liberty for some sort of Egyptian transport ship or some such nonsense. Now, you have to understand, the Liberty was flying a garrison flag, okay? This is a flag that is the size of a football stadium. And it sprouted all sorts of spy gear antenna because the USS Liberty was indeed a United States spy ship. It was there keeping an eye on communications traffic going back and forth in the area. That was indeed a trouble spot. We had good reason to be there. We were in international waters. What spying the Liberty was doing at that time, under international law, was perfectly legal. They had every right in the world to be there. But Israel, and apparently Lyndon Johnson, saw fit to use the USS Liberty as a pawn in a game of chess that still goes on to this day. The cover story on the table is that it was an accident. Israeli pilots were recorded calling back to their base saying, "This is an American ship. Are you sure you want us to attack it? Okay." And the ground control said, "Yes, follow orders, sink that ship." "But sir, it's an American ship. I can see the flag." "Sink it." "Never mind. Hit it." They hit that boat with napalm. They hit that boat with torpedoes. They hit that boat with bombs. They did everything they could to sink that ship. Unfortunately, the Liberty survived, along with the majority of its crewmen. A lot of the crew of the Liberty weren't quite so lucky. 34 of them, 34 of the 294 died. So, the government of Israel and the government of the United States would cooperate in the sinking of a U.S. ship and the loss of lives of U.S. sailors just to provoke an incident that might bring the United States into a war on Israel's side fighting Egypt? Say it ain't so. Say that my government and our only democratic ally in the Middle East, poor besieged little Israel, please tell me that they wouldn't do such a thing. Yeah, they did it. And if you don't think the same type of thing is going on today, think again. The USS Liberty. Kind of like the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Kind of like the USS Maine. Kind of like the Lusitania, which just recently, salvagers have pulled up the munitions that weren't supposed to be there. Governments lie to you. I know, to this audience, this is no big surprise. But governments lie to you to get you all excited about going over and killing that yellow man or killing that brown man. And I'm sure in the very near future they're going to get you all excited about going over and killing some black men because, Africa's got a lot of resources that the United States covets. And in almost every case, these are wars of empire building. These are wars of conquest. These are wars over resources. These are wars to ensure that the U.S. dollar remains predominant as the global exchange currency. So any country that gets out of line does not give Uncle Sugar his piece of the action on their business activities by using the U.S. dollar for international trade. Any country that's sitting on vast resources and not making them compliantly available to U.S. interests can expect to have something like a USS Liberty incident played on them to get you all excited about going over and killing those bad guys and taking their resources. That's what it's about, folks. It's about playing for resources. Is that what you vote for? Is that what you pay your taxes for? Last week's big item in alternative media was the story of this fella, Bowe Bergdahl. Personally, I am more and more convinced that this guy became disillusioned with his military service, what was going on in Afghanistan. I suspect he got over, he went over there thinking, okay, for God, country, and apple pie, and he got over there and he saw what was actually going on, and he said, this is screwed up. And I have no doubt that this man walked away. He just flat put down his gun, put down his helmet, and walked away. Now, whether he compliantly walked into the arms of the Taliban or what, I have no idea. I've heard that pictures have come out of him shooting AK-47s with the boys and slapping each other's back and saying, yeah, go Islam, go Muhammad, all that good stuff. Well, there is this thing called the Stockholm Syndrome. Whether this guy was a card-carrying advocate for the Taliban or not before he got caught. Once you've been under their control for about 5 years, yeah, I can understand him, getting on board with them. I mean, the Stockholm Syndrome is real. You can say what you want. You can accuse this guy of whatever you think is appropriate. Bottom line is, I'm willing to give the guy a pass, okay? He may or may not have walked off the job. Don't know. Based on what he was involved in over there, I might even give him a pass on that. A man of conscience going in there, seeing what the U.S. military was actually involved in. Now, I realize a lot of you out there in the military, oh, he disgraced the flag, he didn't do his duty, this, that, well, you're entitled to your opinion. There are some people who have no business being in the military as it is right now, particularly people of conscience, people who know the difference between a just war and a war of conquest. Well, big story this week is that those 5 guys that we traded for Bergdahl, well, it appears Secretary Kerry has implied that those boys might be targets for a drone strike. So, you know, is this a backhanded way of going against our deal? I mean, we cut a deal with the Taliban. You know, we give you your 5, you give us our guy, and everything's cool, right? We shake hands on it as business. This is, you know, the war's all over. Let's do a prisoner exchange. And as soon as the deal's cut, you know, we send some Predator drones out and send Hellfire missiles up these guys' butts. Please consider and make up your own damn mind. This report came out of the Guardian. Now, Guardian's a British publication. Sometimes I get some good stuff out of the Guardian. Sometimes I get some stuff that I have to question. Could be this report is real. I could see Kerry sitting back kind of musing about, well, yeah, you know, we cut that deal with them. Now look what we're going to do next. Yeah. I'm hearing the music in the background. I'm going to have to step out of here for a moment while the studio sells some product. I'll be back in just a moment after these important commercial announcements. All righty, we're back from our first break of the evening. This issue with this guy Bergdahl, you know, here again, you know, there is plenty of room for many different opinions on this one. You know, my opinion, and $5 get you a cup of coffee at that fancy yuppie place that charges too much for coffee. Here's what some Republican is saying. We have traded for a guy who is guilty of a crime that is actually punishable by death, he said. We traded him for 5 of the worst Taliban leaders in Guantanamo. Okay, now, here again, you know, you got to stop. You got to step back and look at this objectively. Okay, yes, these guys were Taliban leaders. The Taliban was, when we invaded Afghanistan, the Taliban were the ruling people in Afghanistan. And yes, I am sure that they fought tooth and nail against us, okay? No question about it. No question about it. Just like you would fight if the Taliban had invaded Mississippi. All righty? So, yeah. During the war, these guys fought tooth and nail against the U.S. military. Now, at this point, supposedly, the war is winding down. All right? Supposedly, we're backing out of Afghanistan. I think they're going to, you know, declare it victory and come home. Typically, once hostilities have ceased, there is a prisoner exchange. All right? I mean, that is customary. That is customary. War's over. We're going to have an exchange of prisoners. The fact that these Taliban leaders may come back to Afghanistan, which is indeed their home, and may attempt to run for office and reacquire the same control that they had before our military booted them out on their butts. The fact that that might happen should be assumed. I mean, you know, these guys, you know, they don't come from Qatar or Yemen or wherever the hell we're going to dump their butts. You know, they're from Afghanistan. They're going to want to go home. They've got friends, they've got family there, they have ties to Afghanistan. They were political leaders in their nation until we booted them out. So yeah, they're going to go home. I think the only reason they would continue to wage war against the United States is if we continue to prosecute such a war. I think if we honor our intent to back out of Afghanistan, they would probably just want to be left alone. Okay, now, what we have to decide is we got to stop being so damn schizophrenic about this thing. Okay, is the war on or is the war over? Are we backing out of Afghanistan or are we going to keep kicking ass over there? If the war's over, it's only right that there be an exchange of prisoners, that we release any prisoners of war. Stop calling them terrorists. I mean, it was a war. We invaded Afghanistan. The United States of America invaded Afghanistan and prosecuted a war upon those people. Yes, they fought back, just like you would do. Okay, now we've called an end to the war. We said, okay, you know, objective met. We're getting out of here. It's only right that there be an honorable exchange of prisoners and that we honor our commitments. John Kerry says you know, to save face, you know, everybody, you know, the Democrats are all embarrassed now because it's come out that this Bergdahl may not be the shining star of an American hero that they wanted him to be. So now to get their testosterone, get their manliness back up, you know, they're making noises like they're going to send Hellfire missiles up these Taliban guys' butts. Well, you know, if these Taliban guys go over to Afghanistan and just start, you know, indiscriminately raising hell, yeah, then maybe you got a damn good reason. But please, the war is either over or it's not. Make up your mind. Stop being schizophrenic about it. If the war is over, a prisoner exchange is appropriate. A little closer to home. Now that the boys are coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq, and you know, hopefully all of our warring is over. I'm not even going to mention the fact that we've still got U.S. military involved in, I don't know, half a dozen places around the world. I mean, it just seems to never end. There seems to always be some brown people or some black people that have our attention that we want to blow up for one reason or another. I'll tell you, the United States is losing street cred around the world because of our bellicose nature. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the only good reason for the United States of America to go to war is because somebody invaded Mississippi or Norfolk or Galveston. You know, somebody got the nerve to pull that off, kick their ass twice. But, you know, if they're minding their own business, growing their damn poppies or doing whatever the hell they're doing, leave them the hell alone. Unless they're sitting on a big hoard of lithium or gold or oil or, you know, some other resource that the United States would like to have, then I guess it's okay to go kick their ass, right? But now that all these boys are coming home, they can expect to get benefits for fighting for flag and country and mom and apple pie, right? You know, they can expect to be taken care of now because they served their country with honor, and, you know, they're entitled to veterans benefits, right? Right? Well, unless they come home sick or wounded. This Veterans Administration thing, you know, it was kind of a rustle in the news before this Bergdahl thing got everybody distracted. But this Veterans Administration thing is nothing short of being sick, twisted. It's an abomination, or some would say Obama-nation. Now, I quite often have a little segment where I go off on a tirade about how much I just love Obamacare. Well, I'll tell you about the only thing out there better than Obamacare. No, I guess not. No, the veterans' health care system is even worse than Obamacare. Obamacare is bad. But, you know, if you want to have a good close look at what Obamacare is going to be like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, take a look at what veterans are getting for medical care after putting their asses on the line for God and country and apple pie and all that good stuff. Take a look at what they get. Veterans Administration says more than 57,000 patients are waiting for first visit. Okay? The Department of Veterans Affairs on Monday shed light on the depth of Veterans Administration scheduling scandal, and there was a substantiated claims that rank-and-file employees were directed to manipulate records. Additionally, about 13% of Veterans Administration schedulers have said they were told to falsify appointment request dates to give the impression that the wait times were shorter than they really were. Basically, if you're a veteran and you're sick, maybe you were wounded, maybe you need prosthetics, maybe you got, some kind of terrible infection while you're over there, or maybe were exposed to some biological or chemical agent that wasn't supposed to be there, or whatever. But if you're dependent on the Veterans Administration for your health care, chances are you'll die waiting to be seen. That's the reward we give our soldiers for their service to this nation. It makes you want to go join up, doesn't it? I'm hearing the music again, so I'm going to have to slip out of here for a moment. We'll be back right after these important commercial messages. All righty, we're back from that break. I'm going to break in on the music just a little bit because, I tell you, I got a lot of stuff to get through tonight. Gee, my knee, and I'm down to about 10, 12 minutes to get it done. I suppose all you folks out there know this fella, Chucky Schumer. Chucky Schumer. Did Chuck Schumer try to use the IRS to sidestep the Supreme Court Citizen United ruling and stick a dagger in the heart of conservative groups? Remember that IRS scandal? Do you remember that IRS? People have such a short memory. They have such a short memory. It wasn't too long ago the IRS was being charged with using their, shall we say, authority, as Cartman would say, to besiege conservative groups, particularly libertarian and Tea Party type groups. And the trial balloon that's being floated right now is that it was all Chucky Schumer's fault. Chucky Schumer was the guy who sicked the IRS on all those conservative outfits. Yeah. Wasn't the Obama administration doing that stuff? It was Chucky Schumer. Is Chucky Schumer running next time, or is he a shoo-in where he's being, bottom line is they're trying to convince us that Chucky Schumer had the wherewithal to sick the IRS on these outfits. Now, try to get that one past Jim Traficant, okay? I'm not so sure that congressmen have that kind of pull. I think the administration probably does. I think the Justice Department kind of does. I think they could probably get the IRS to do their bidding. But I'm not so sure that Chucky Schumer could have pulled that off. Maybe, but I kind of doubt it. I think this is, to take attention away from Obama. But, hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Take a look at that one and see what you think. New information is that the IRS sent a huge database of that included taxpayer information, things like Social Security numbers and that kind of stuff, to the FBI in advance of the FBI subpoena. Okay, now the FBI, if they've got a clear-cut reason to investigate your tax situation, they can subpoena your tax records. But, if the FBI just calls up the IRS and says, hey, send me all the tax records on so-and-so, and they do it, they are breaking the law. There is indication that the IRS in October of 2010 broke that law. That report from nationalreview.com. Links to all these articles, by the way, will be at smartscarecrow.com. If after the show you're interested and you want to read these entire articles to see what it was all about, slide over to smartscarecrow.com. Look for the blog entry for June 9th, 2014, and take a look at some of these articles. Consider, and as always, make up your own damn mind. Don't take my word for this stuff. Okay, I'll tell you, I'm going to try to rush through these last few articles, and I've got quite a few I'm going to try to get through here. There was yet another unfortunate incident. We had a couple of whack jobs apparently assassinate a couple of policemen while they sat eating pizza. Then they apparently escaped the pizza parlor, ran across the street to the Walmart, shot somebody dead at the Walmart, and then proceeded to commit suicide. Now, here again, you know, I don't know what's going on. You know, I have no inside information. The way this is being reported is it's yet another good reason to take guns away from law-abiding citizens, because a couple of whack jobs who are a little nuts, let's face it, go out and assassinate a couple of cops. Now, in defense of the whack jobs, with all the incidents being reported of police abusing people, murdering people, tossing flashbangs into infants' playpens. I mean, frankly, with all of the violence that police have been inflicting upon just average citizens, many of them innocent of any crime, it's almost understandable that a certain number of whack jobs are going to be pissed off about something like this and seek revenge. Okay, now for all I know, in these people's twisted minds, this was a let's get even with those cops. Now, I don't know these two cops. Okay, I have no idea who these guys are. One of them's name is Alan Beck. The other guy is Igor Soldo. I have no idea if these two cops have indiscriminately murdered or abused citizens for no good reason. You know, and I'm certainly not going to go trying to kill them because they gave me a traffic ticket or maybe they arrested somebody I know for shoplifting or something. I mean, if these guys are doing their job, they got no reason to be targeted for assassination. See, that's the problem, though. When you get police that are out of control, this maybe, I don't know, 1%, 2%, 5%, 10% of these cops that are hopped up on steroids or whatever and have lost their mind and forgotten who the hell they serve. They go about conducting their business in an abusive fashion. They give whack jobs an excuse to seek vengeance upon them. Now, my opinion, and $5 get you a cup of coffee at that fancy yuppie place. But, you know, my opinion is if the cops got back to the Andy Mayberry style of policing, such incidents would be very, very rare. It would be very, very rare that a cop would be gunned down. But the more incidents that happen of police with their militarized stance, their very aggressive, almost militaristic methods of policing, the more this continues to escalate, the more whack jobs are going to come out of the closet wanting to seek some weird form of revenge. Now, I report when the cops are nuts, okay? It has to be reported because, unfortunately, you're not going to hear that on CBS, NBC, and whoever else might be available out there in what's commonly referred to as the mainstream. It's really the bought and paid for corporate media. They're not going to tell you about the cases of police abuse. But because I do, I could become a target. Alex Jones is claiming that, you know, they're blaming the Bundy Ranch incident and Alex Jones for these whack jobs going out murdering police. Doesn't surprise me, and chances are, because a lot of independent media does give you the report on police abuse, will be accused of supporting whack jobs who go out and target police who may be guilty of nothing. No, I tell you, you know, there may come a time when a cop comes into your home, shoots your dog, wounds your kid, and does you purposeful harm for no damn good reason. And you may seek revenge on that SOB. And you know what? I'll report that too. And I'll say, you know, I thinking about it, if that cop had done to me what he did to that fella, I might want revenge too. But you don't just indiscriminately go out and shoot somebody in a blue suit without damn good reason. Any more than the cop should be out shooting innocent civilians who they have not yet proved committed a crime. This country was founded on the concept of innocent until proven guilty. When the cop becomes judge, jury, and executioner, well, there's been a movie about it called Judge Dredd. Remember that one? You want to live in a society like that? Well, that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. You want to live in a society like what was depicted in Judge Dredd, where, you know, the cop is, you know, the policeman, the judge, and the executioner? Is that where we're headed? Oh, boy. I'm not going to make it through all these articles. That's a real shame. I had some good ones here. How many of you out there think this guy Cruz is a nice guy? Huh? I mean, in many ways, he's got the right stand on Second Amendment issues. He's got the right stand somewhat on social issues. But, you know, looking at him, he's all in favor of unlimited immigration. He'd invite as many in as want to come in. He's kind of a stand-up guy when it comes to supporting anything that Israel wants. He's making barking dog noises like he wouldn't mind going to war, or, you know. So, you know, I look at this guy Cruz. You know, this is supposed to be, you know, our opportunity to get a good, solid conservative Republican in now that we've had 8 years of this abomination. You know, and the Republicans are putting this guy out there, teasing you, making you think, you know, this could be your savior. This is, you know, what the Republicans have to offer in response to 8 years of sliding even deeper into a communist cesspool. Cruz is going to be your man. He's going to save you. No, it'll be more of the same. It'll be more for the bankers, less for you, more wars, more unlimited immigration. This guy Cruz is being waved at you to try to get you to forget that the last Republican we had was probably every bit as big a jerk as this Democrat that we're hoping we can blow out of here now. Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. I'm feeling like a ping pong ball getting bounced back and forth, okay? I can't seem to get off the damn table. How many of you are familiar with a service called Uber? Uber. It's an interesting service. You type into your smartphone, hey, I'm at the bar over here and I'm too damn drunk. I need somebody to give me a ride home. Somebody picks it up off the Uber site. So, okay, I'll haul your drunk butt home. It's only going to cost you $10 or whatever. Well, in the state of Virginia and in Florida, from what I understand, Uber is being made illegal because it's in competition with the licensed cabbies. It was an internet business that seemed to have a following, was coming on strong. Well, I'm hearing the music, and they're going to chase me out of here. I can feel the hook. It's reaching around me, dragging me away. See you next week, folks. I hope you enjoy your week. Good night, all.
What will you say? I'm calling out to you. Won't you turn around? Oh, I'm calling out to you. Won't you won't you turn around? Oh, the point of no return is just ahead now. Can't you see? Oh, the point of no return is just ahead. Can't you see it's just ahead?
Well, another Monday evening. I'll tell you, let's see here. No, we won't stop dropping off illegal immigrants in Arizona. Yeah, I was gonna, I didn't do my usual tirade on immigration because Shubis gave me hell about it last week. He said, "Oh, you're just down on the poor illegals," but this Texas is being overwhelmed. Okay, if it wasn't so sad, it would be hilarious. But Texas is being overwhelmed. It's so bad that Texas is putting the illegals on buses and shipping them to Arizona. Now, why they don't put them on a bus and ship them back to Mexico, I don't know. I'm just an old country boy with straw for brains, so I can't figure this stuff out. It's just right over my head. I guess that's just above my pay grade. But Arizona Governor Jan Brewer sent a letter to President Obama demanding that inhumane drop-offs of illegal immigrant women and children in 100-degree temperatures be stopped. They got no place to put them. And Wilder also confirmed that unaccompanied children crossing into the U.S. in Texas were making their way to southern Arizona, and the first shipment was expected to arrive on Friday. Walmart's, I understand, having a hard time. They probably use some Walmart trucks to ship these people around. Oh, boy. Wilder said he participated in a call with federal agencies, including DHS, HHS, ICE, all these three-letter boys, Border Patrol, and FEMA, about the transportation of immigrants into Arizona from the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. The federal government has no plans to terminate this operation at any time in the near future. Basically, Arizona, get used to it. You're being invaded and overrun. Now, look, here's something I would like you to think about. The DREAM Act. What is Obama after? What is he after? He's after young, impressionable immigrants, people who do not speak English, people who will be 100% dependent on the government that promised them a dream. Come on down, y'all. We'll find something for you to do. Let me introduce you to your newest best friend. It's called a M16. By the way, these here are your boots. This is your helmet. And you see that old white guy over there who thinks he can graze his cattle on U.S. land? Well, he's your enemy. And we'd like you to go over there and just shoot that old boy, okay? Show me ese gringo. No problemo. He looks like my enemy, sure enough. Can I have some more soup, please? Yeah, think about it. Think about it. Why else would they be bringing in all these young Latinos with no hope? Think about it. Ah, boy, more on that Las Vegas shooting. Here's this Jared Miller fella. He's the guy who apparently gunned down, him and his wife apparently gunned down these two cops and then committed suicide. For all I know, this thing's a big false flag. I just don't know. I didn't see it go down. I've read the reports. But, he writes on his Facebook page, the dawn of a new day, may all of our coming sacrifices be worth it. This guy was, if you believe what he was babbling, frankly, he sounds like a meth head to me. Okay, I've read some of this guy's ramblings. It's got the sound of a meth head. I think this guy's whacked on meth. The police have never attacked a pro-gun rally. They have no problem attacking a peace rally. Attacking armed people has consequences. Well, there is some truth to that. According to one police official and a witness, one of the shooters shouted, "This is a revolution. We're freedom fighters," during the attack on Walmart. And, of course, you know, what precipitated this event, we do not know. Sheriff Gillespie said, "My officers were simply having lunch when the shooting started." Yeah, these cops are minding their own business. They were just sitting down, eating lunch, I guess having pizza at a pizza shop, maybe a sub sandwich or something. Just sitting there, you know, having lunch, and boom, you know, they're dead now. And apparently, you know, an innocent civilian at the Walmart got in their way and was gunned down and is dead. And then for whatever reason, the shooters just mysteriously committed suicide. Have you noticed how so many of these shooters at the end of their shooting spree just commit suicide? Saves public trial, saves anything coming out that might, you know, challenge the corporate story. Who knows? I mean, are a couple of cops dead? I think so. Is an innocent person at a Walmart dead? I think so. Are a couple of shooters dead? Not sure. For all I know, they snuck them out the back and planted a couple of bodies. For all I know, these were CIA operatives who pulled this thing off, as yet another good reason to get you all riled up and get the wackos out there saying that, oh, none of you people should have guns. You know, because two wackos misuse their guns. You, Mr. Law-abiding citizen, who's owned a firearm for 50 years and never shot anybody, you shouldn't have one either. Okay, that is the mime that will be out there, or the meme, I guess it's the internet meme. Yeah, it's a sad situation. And here's the report out of Intel Hub. Now, Intel Hub, you know, sometimes they have good material there, sometimes it's kind of shaky. But InfoWars. Now, one of the problems I've always had with Alex Jones is, you know, he is so convinced that he is the tip of the spear on everything that no matter what happens, it's all about him. And he'll tell you, just you know. But Kurt Nemo over at InfoWars reporting the corporate media is linking two suspected shooters who executed two police officers at Las Vegas Pizzeria and another person at Walmart to Cliven Bundy and the Patriot Movement, and specifically to Alex Jones. Okay. According to a report posted at the Daily Mail, the married couple suspected in the shootings and who executed a suicide pact following the rampage were militant and obsessed with conspiracy theories. They allegedly shouted at the diners, "Tell the police the revolution has begun." The male suspect, named as Jared in media reports, allegedly claimed to have been involved with the standoff between Clive and Bundy. His supporter, Carol Bundy, said the shootings in Las Vegas were not related in any way. It was reported after the pair shot the police officers as they draped their bodies with a Gadsden flag. Let's see what Eric Holder had to say. I mean, Eric Holder, he's an authority on everything. Just ask him. We must also concern ourselves with the continued danger we face from individuals within our own borders who may be motivated by a variety of other causes, from anti-government animus to racial prejudice. Yeah, it's all about race. The people who did the shooting were white. The police officers who were gunned down were white. Now, why Eric Holder thinks this had anything at all to do with race? No, this apparently had to do with a couple of meth heads who were pissed off about all the reports of police abuses of authority and decided to take it upon themselves to start the revolution. They were nuts. Okay? A couple of nuts did a nutty thing. It happens. I am really sorry that a couple of cops lost their lives. But you know what? My personal right to keep and bear arms trumps your two dead cops. I'm really sorry. You know, I didn't want those cops to die. But the fact that they are dead, if anything, makes it even more important that I, as a law-abiding American citizen, be able to protect myself from all comers, regardless of what uniform they wear. More about this. Boy, you know, this thing in Las Vegas has hit a nerve. It's really hit a nerve. You know, and I'll tell you, they are going to use that. They're going to use that. You know, and if you think that's the last one of these whack job shootings, think again. You know, they are hell bent on their anti-gun platform. And if a lot of innocent cops and a lot of innocent other people have to die, that's what they're after. Anyway, let's see what's going on in the chat room. Ooh, stream stopped. Okay, well, you know, if the stream's still going. I guarantee you, NSA did not like them words. Yeah, you betcha. Better late than never. Isn't that the mafia's credo? I was slaving over a hot refrigerator, yeah. Just like Santa Barbara and Sandy Hook. Yeah, Sandy Hook more and more is looking like it might not even have ever happened. I mean, that may have all been smoke and mirrors. Just don't know. Just don't know. So was there any hot item in the news that I missed, guys? Speak now or forever hold your peace, because I still got a lot of work to do before I can go to bed tonight. So what did I miss? What hot topic in the news? What really compelling issue did I fail to bring up? I'm not seeing anything. I think everybody in the chat room's falling asleep. Well, I tell you, I've got fighter pilot in Vietnam, Miss USA. I come here for news. Don't watch news. What about MH370? Well, you know, I don't know anything new about MH370. I mean, I did hear a report that, well, I'm not sure I'm convinced Bill Still knows what he's talking about. I shouldn't pick on Bill Still. A lot of what Bill Still is reporting is rumor and innuendo. Okay, I mean, there are reports that the plane was seen on fire before it fell in. You know, I mean, I've heard a lot of reports, but I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I've heard about MH370 that is interesting and makes a certain amount of sense. It appears that at some point we had a gizmo in Afghanistan that was able to monitor all cell phone traffic, all satellite phone traffic. Basically, it was a Connex box that was, you know, the NSA spying on every piece of information in a box. You know, it was NSA's technology in a box. There is a report that the Taliban or Al-Qaeda or whoever managed to grab that sucker. There was a deal made between these insurgents, freedom fighters, or terrorists, however you wish to categorize them. There was a deal made between them and the Chinese. Okay, the Afghans shipped this thing to Malaysia, put it on this particular airplane, this MH370 airplane, and it was intended to make its way to China, where the Chinese wanted to dissect this thing, because if they got their hands on this thing and dissected it, they would have all the codes necessary to take remote control over U.S. drones and all U.S. electronic spy apparatus. Well, this thing was on. Well, the story goes that the U.S. got wind that that's where the thing was, that it was on this airplane and it was on its way to China. And rather than allow that gizmo to fall into Chinese hands, the U.S. military either shot that airplane down or had one of their proxies shoot it down. Now, that is the most interesting story I've heard about MH370. Now, do I know that story to be factual and true? No. It's just one of many interesting theories that have been put on the table. I'm not sure we will ever know the true story of what happened to that airplane. I can tell you that it's very suspicious that the NSA can know what you had for lunch 3 days ago, but can't find something as big as a jumbo jet someplace on the face of the earth. Now, you know, I mean, But then again, the NSA were doing all this full-scale spying way back before 9/11, and they obviously weren't able to do a damn thing about that either. The NSA is impotent, okay? The reason all this stuff has come out from Snowden and everything else about how great the NSA is, how they can spy, is to intimidate you and to shut you up. They are impotent. They have absolutely no control over anything, but they really want you to think they do. That is my opinion. My opinion, and $5 gets you a cup of coffee at that fancy yuppie place that charges too much for coffee. Any other items that I really, really missed? Commie America. Sounds like a 7 days jump to the future. Yeah, we just don't know. You know, there's a lot of interesting theories out there. I wish I knew what the real deal. I give Bill Still credit for trying to sift through all of that stuff. I'm sure he's doing the best he can to present, but I doubt. I don't really think Bill Still has any special knowledge on that issue either. My as long as you understand, my opinion don't count. Okay, your opinion could be 180 degrees different than mine, and your opinion has every bit as much clout as anything that I could come up with. Opinions are opinions. Opinions are, like the proverbial asshole. Everybody's got one, and most of them stink. Sorry about that. We're off the air, aren't we? Yes, we're off the air. I couldn't say that on Rents Radio. Well, I guess I could say that on Rents Radio. Rents Radio is actually pretty forgiving. They let me get away with murder. I don't think I'm supposed to drop too many F-bombs on Rents. Rents gets a little testy when you drop too many F-bombs. It is in the family hour. We're supposed to be, somewhat sane about what we put on Rents. Yes. Well, that's Shubas hit the nail right on the head. Okay. The idea is to consider as many opinions as possible, sift through, decide what makes sense to you. If you think Dan Rather knows all the answers, come on. I mean, even Walter Cronkite, screwed up. I caught Walter Cronkite screwing up more than once. That was back in the days when everybody in the country trusted old Uncle Walter. Uncle Walter would never steer us wrong. Yeah, right. But, is Thursday nights coming back? I don't know, man. Yeah, that would be the Thursday shows, the alternative energy shows, took so long to produce. I would do a 1 to 2 hour broadcast, and I would spend, 8, 10, 12 hours on every one of those shows doing pre and post production stuff. Bringing back the Thursday show, that would be a tremendous burden. It would be a tremendous burden. I was kind of hoping that by now maybe somebody else would pick up the ball and try to do a quality alternative energy broadcast. I was really very hopeful, and frankly, if somebody has the wherewithal to do that, and there was anything I could do to try and help them pull it off properly, I'd do what I could to help. But for me to get back into that, I don't know, man. It's just that's asking an awful lot. RWG, if he'd do it, there are some things I could do to help somebody put some. Basically, what you got to have is you got to have a computer that's strong enough to do the broadcast, which is an expense. You got to have an internet connection that is strong enough to pull off the broadcast, which is an expense. So there are some expenses involved with it, but biggest thing you got to have is you got to have the time to produce a quality product. That's the kicker. Trying to produce a quality product takes a hell of a lot of time. How was the wedding? The wedding was great. Maury, did you miss the slideshow that I put on last week? Last week, everybody that was here for the after show last week got to see a little slideshow on the wedding. It was very pleasant. The daughter is officially married now. She's a missus. Actually, I think considering, they may take her name. Mr. and Mrs. Hendershot here. Well, I'll tell you guys, it's getting late, and I've got to blow out of here. I really do. I still have to edit this video, get it posted up to YouTube. I've got a lot to do before I can get to bed tonight. So that's going to have to be it. I appreciate everybody watching the show tonight, and you betcha we'll see you next Monday. Good night.